Hello world, from whichever time zone you're catching me from, my name is MD90. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notification to all so that you do not miss the uploads that come up. And the easiest way for you to navigate the channel is to head to the playlist. You'll find videos curated for you based on your interest. So if you're interested in the Kutika podcast, you'll find a playlist for that. For news and trends, there's a playlist for that. Exclusive with MD90, a bunch of playlists that are created based on your interest. So the easiest way to navigate the channel is head straight to the playlist and you'll find what you're here for. Consider becoming a member of the channel. Right next to the subscribe button is a join button. You click on the join button so that you can become a member of the channel. You support the team on the production and a number of things that we're doing here, and we appreciate that.
Well, finally, the Tonse Alliance seems to be awakening to a reality that every Zambian knew from inception. If you remember, a number of broadcasts, I did state it here to say, as long as the Tonse Alliance does not address the big elephant in the room, which is who's going to lead it as the presidential candidate in 2026, they are simply playing games, because each individual that ever showed interest to getting into the Tonse Alliance, they were in the hopes that they are going to be endorsed as a presidential candidate then before Edgar Chakalungu died by Edgar Chakalungu, and the friends are going to endorse that particular candidate as the presidential candidate. That's the only reason that they got into that alliance. They wanted to utilize the Patriotic Front clout on the ground for their personal interests, not that they are willing, if someone else was subsequently elected as the presidential candidate, they would submit. And this is how it has played out. Because if you remember, for a while, Fred Membe stayed away from the Tonse Alliance because he made it clear to say if he's not going to be picked as a presidential candidate, there was an audio that had leaked, should have been early 2025, if not January, then February, thereabout, of his alleged daughters speaking to say if Fred Membe is not picked as a presidential candidate, then they should do some sort of takeover, hostile takeover of the alliance. This was the time that Edgar Chakalungu, that audio was disregarded to say it was fake, whatever. But then the results were that Fred Membe never joined the Tonse Alliance. So then you could see that there should have been some truth to whatever was alleged in that particular audio. Then later on, should have been right before Edgar Chakalungu died again, KBF joined the Tonse Alliance. It was clear he was hoping that he would get an endorsement from Given Lubinda, because Given Lubinda runs the Patriotic Front, at least the one that has members of parliament, before he expelled them anyway. There's that also that just happened a couple of minutes ago. So they were hoping that they would get that endorsement, and it seems it has not come through. And this is what has happened. This was very predictable. They are just wasting their time at this point. Anyway, according to the news, the Patriotic Front itself put up this particular headline. They say, Kelvin Fubebwadia or KBF walks away from Tonse Alliance, Fred Membe walks in. So now that Fred Membe walks in, what does that mean? They're going to submit under the Socialist Party. That's news for another day, but it looks like that's the next play. So the Zambia Must Prosper, the Zambia Must Prosper reportedly withdraws from Tonse Alliance amid internal friction. So the Zambia Must Prosper is reported to have withdrawn from the Tonse Alliance amid growing concerns over internal conditions and coordination and leadership practices within the opposition grouping. According to sources, said that close to the matter, while no official statement has been publicly issued at the time of reporting, individuals familiar with the internal deliberations allege that the decision was influenced by what is being described as a persistent organizational dysfunction within the alliance. Those sources suggest that the leadership structure dominated by the Patriotic Front (PF) have allegedly limited meaningful participation by smaller political parties. It further claimed that the Zambia Must Prosper raised concerns over what insiders describe as a bulldozing approach to leadership, in which strategic decisions were allegedly imposed without adequate consultation. According to these accounts, alternative viewpoints from alliance partners were reportedly disregarded, undermining the collective character of the alliance was originally intended to embody. So pretty much it's around the leadership. So the alleged KBF has stepped aside. It could be a strategy from the Patriotic Front to push him out as they welcome Fred Membe into the alliance. Because where they saw the seed, because as they've properly acknowledged on that post to say he has not put up a statement to say he has officially walked away from the alliance, but they start planting the seed to say he's walking away, more like a way of paving the way for him to take the door, pretty much, as they welcome Fred Membe. Well, now, at this point, I think this is when the Patriotic Front is awakening to the reality that Patriotic Front will not be on the ballot box next year. That court case is going to drag on for as long as it can drag on into the elections. And you can clearly see Robert Chaving has already submitted to the UPND and is likely to be adopted to stand on that seat in Mafinga constituency. And a number of these other MPs within the Patriotic Front, they are likely to move into that, the UPND. I mean, a number of MPs that are, especially those that voted for Bill 7, are likely to move into the UPND and contest on that seat. And the PF now is just awakening. They don't have those numbers as they thought. Now they want probably to work through the Socialist Party. Yes, Socialist Party might have the resources, but it's the issue of, is it popular on the ground? Is Fred Membe a worthwhile candidate to run against Hakainde Hichilema and win? Anyway, that's up for you to decide if you're a voter, but I honestly don't see it, if we're being honest. His ideology of socialism compared to capitalism does not sit with the majority of Zambians. And that thing of endorsing Palestine as opposed to Israel, that conflict that has been ongoing. Zambia was a very non-aligned nation. And recently, I think they just made an alignment, should have been 2 years ago. So, which still does not sit well with the majority of Zambians, the endorsement of Palestine. Most Zambians are inclined to Israel because of that Christian nation issue. Anyway, that's the story for another day. But yeah, so I don't see Fred Membe being a formidable opponent to Hakainde Hichilema, quite honestly, with his ideologies. But anyway, the PF are desperate at this point. They might as well jump into whatever it takes. And then obviously they are sharing caller tells of UPND Shawama candidate. You can see this alliance, the PF, already has a candidate in Shawama. Instead of promoting their candidate who's standing in Shawama, they are posting UPND clips of an interview of the UPND candidate. How does that serve the purpose of their? The PF is really lost it, honestly. It's sad to watch. Like the numbers that they might even pull in parliament next year, that I doubt they will even make any formidable competition in next year's elections. Because if they are the main opposition, they are losing their MPs and now they're just all over the place in terms of their strategy. And then there's this news that came right after signing Bill 7 saying Patriotic Front expels rebel members of parliament as UPND welcomes them. This is another issue that is neither here or there. Because if you remember, there was at some point Robert Chavinga himself wanted to expel all the PF members of parliament. They took the matter to court and that thing has been in court since then. So I don't see the strategy they are working with. If it did not work for Robert Chavinga, considering that they already have a court case pending for court hearing in court, how does it change the matter if they themselves decide to expel those that voted for members of parliament? I do not get the strategy because everyone is able to see that this is not going anywhere. If it did not work for Chavinga on the grounds that there's an active court case, how then is the decision that given Lubinda is making going to stand any water? So, it's quite sad to see, quite honestly. And then Chief Ediari just bluntly responded, they have expelled them. Who are you? He asks. Where are you recognized? Arrogance, Yamadongo Dongo. You are finished. Chief Ediari says, and that's just the reality. Yes, you might. What they're doing is like what they did right prior to the vote for Bill 7. That should have been on a Sunday, where literally all the platforms of the Patriotic Front was holding press briefings. There was one where Shimbagambwe was given Lubinda and a number of people. There was one that was held by Brian Munduvide. Literally everyone within the Patriotic Front was holding a press brief of some sort. What is their friends were working strategically to win over the votes from the PF members of parliament, because the vote counted in parliament and it showed, the results showed. So this thing of issuing threats, issuing statements, no, we fired you, we've expelled you, when you know it's not going anywhere, I don't see the strategy behind that. Because everyone knows this is not going anywhere. Yes, we've expelled them, and then what? They'll take you to court, you start fighting, hey, back and forth. Nala and Chief from a dongo. I don't get their strategy. They seem to be processing grief in a different way. So there they say acting Patriotic Front President given with expels members of parliament that voted for Bill 7 on what ground? Anyway. And he goes further to laugh at them. That's Chief He says, Nakachindari PF. Which PF? Just go to campaign for UPND in Chawama. PF is dead, never to rise again. And it looks like that way. So he's simply laughing at Nakachinda, who's been sentenced to jail. I can't just remember the exact number of months that he's been given for one of these cases, but yeah. So Chief He is simply advising, hey, just join UPND at this point. And it seems like a number of those MPs that voted for Bill 7 are likely to be adopted on the UPND ticket. So I don't know what their strategy is. And according to the Patriotic Front, Chabinga and UPND will come expel the members of parliament. Obviously, who wouldn't welcome them? Because at this point, any by-election that is held prior to the general election, first, it would not sit well with the people because it's literally like holding a by-election because the official general elections, I think we should be like, if not 8 months to 9 months away from the official general elections, which are supposed to be in August next year. Then you decide to create a by-election, a mass by-election for that matter, because PF has got about, should have been like 30 members of parliament that voted in favor of that bill 7. So you create 30 more by-elections just months before the general election, and you expect your people to receive well, because that's money anyway. I don't know what their strategy is. Because the reality is, if it works in the favor of the UPND, they might just allow it. Even Robert Chavinga might allow it to say, okay, it's not going to take them to court. It will allow the by-elections to take place. They get nullified. They go to the by-elections, which can be held maybe in March. By then, Parliament itself would have closed. So whichever member of Parliament is going to be voted in March, Parliament would have closed. Then it's quite laughable what this strategy is, because officially Parliament should be closing, if not March, then April, thereabout. So it's supposed to be a 3 months notice. So let's say, for example, they accept, yes, these by-elections take place. We go into January, we're already in January. This is like the 16th, in fact, the 19th of December right now. So we go into the general elections by January, thereabout. February, they're allowed. Whichever member of parliament is voted in will not even step into parliament, because parliament would have been dissolved by then. Then again, you go and recontest. PF is bleeding badly. It's really bleeding badly. So, and then they go further to post this meme. They say, you can't get justice in the UPND courts. Then again, if they are aware of that they cannot get justice in the UPND courts, then why are they creating situations where they have to get into court of some sort? Whoever is running the PF platforms, in fact, it's not just running the PF platforms, they themselves seem to be bleeding badly. They are processing this loss very badly. There is no strategy, just ranting and mourning pretty much. And the UPND put up this post and they say, to the Patriotic Front members of parliament who voted for Bill 7, I have the papers. That's Robert Chavinga, according to the UPND court. I have the papers, and Zaire, referring to Given Lubinda, has no authority over Patriotic Front members of parliament. In fact, I am ready to expel those who did not vote for Bill 7, but because I am an organized leader, I cannot go that route, Robert Chavinga. Because he's aware, ladies and gentlemen, parliament will be dissolved in like 2 months' time, or if not 3 months' time. And these by-elections are supposed to be held in a period of 9 months. So literally, whoever is going to be voted in now, it's just a waste of resources. They will not even step into parliament, literally. You're voted in, you don't step into parliament, then you go to the general elections later again. So it's simply saying you're not allowed. So those are not expelled. So which simply means, what ground was given Lubinda? What was the strategy there? To frustrate what? Who is he frustrating? Because it does not affect the MPs. It just looks desperate to the people that are watching outside in. When you look at it, it just looks like there's no strategy with what they're doing there. And the ever online Patriotic Front Deputy Secretary General Mao Sampa has directed all party members in the constituencies whose lawmakers have been expelled by his friend Given Lubinda to immediately start interviews to identify candidates for their replacement. Man, the PF is gone. Let them just face that reality. It doesn't look good. There is no strategy to their moves. And then is it Tadu Chirufi? I can't remember this, the former minister of health. He says, I am incoming Patriotic Front president. No one has expelled me. So he says, so those are the responses. Some of the ministers, the members of parliament that voted in favor of Bill 7. So he simply says, given Lubinda cannot expel me, he feels he's the incoming Patriotic Front president. If they do decide to go to that convention, which was delayed, which they are supposed to hold by now. Anyway, it's a drama of politics, but it's a sad story for PF, honestly. It's a sad story. They should have had their house in order even before Edgar Shagalongo died. Right at the time when he resigned there in 2021, they should have just gone to that general conference. Whoever was elected, then they start building their portfolio for that candidate. It looked like Brian Munduwide was likely to be the candidate there, but because of the games, they decided to play that. Things fall apart after more than 20 years of loyal membership to the Patriotic Front. Steady Mwale has announced his immediate resignation from the former ruling party, citing undemocratic tendencies and given Lubinda's solo but empty decision to expel lawmakers who voted for Constitutional Amendment Bill number 7 of 2025. Yes, it's empty, honestly. So more people are leaving the Patriotic Front because honestly, anyone that is objective can see what it is. It's just a cry for people, like they can see it's a desperation. There's no strategy with what they're doing. It's emotional decisions. And George Mtonga Sim say, if you want anybody to take, if you don't want anybody to take even a toothpaste in the house from your wife when you die, make sure that Chubbs International is your estate manager. So simply laughing to say the way Robert Chabing has handled the PF is ideal to be an administrator because he's able to ensure that you get what is right for yours. And Kasonde Mwenda, the EFF president, is taking up if you remember, Your Maps did a song, should be early this year, where you simply say, opposition should go to the farm because they stand no chance in the 2026 general elections. So, what's his name? Kasonde Mwenda simply says, opposition to farm, my wife and I hustling. And he shows himself, him and his wife, at his farm doing what they have to do to survive. So it seems like people are realizing that at this point there's no opposition. That's just a reality. The opposition should have united around one candidate already. Now that they're making a decision at the 99th hour now to pick most likely Fred Membe to be their candidate and stand on Socialist Party. Even the PF members of parliament that are already in that, they will opt not to. They will rather stand independent than stand in that Socialist Party with Fred Membe. Yes, their resources are there, but I don't see them garnering the support that they feel they might have garnered. They stood more chance picking either Hari Kalava or what's his name, the one who's walked away, KBF. But Fred Membe, quite honestly, I don't see it. Even given Lubinda himself, why is he pushing others? He might as well just contest himself as the PF president, pick it up and run with it, and try to win support from people like Chimba Kambwili and them. And like this drama that they're causing, because quite honestly, I don't see if PF endorse Fred Membe and them standing a chance. I don't see that playing out in their favor anywhere. And that's some of the news. Fashion Sankara named captain, and that's other news. And then Sean Tembo says, PF has never been disciplined. PF has never been disciplined, says Sean Tembo. And that's just a reality. It has proven itself. It is done. Let this debate end now. I am also aware of some people have not moved on after 2021 election loss. So, yeah, that's the statement coming from President Hakainde Hichilema, which looks like so. And then Hakainde Hichilema signs Bill 7 today as PF plots sanction for its members of parliament. Anyway, that has already been done. And that's the news, ladies and gentlemen. Have a beautiful day.